Hi everyone, welcome to this very special episode of the Smash Fiction Podcast. If you heard our last episode, you know that this week we were supposed to have Geralt of the Witcher versus Link from The Legend of Zelda. Unfortunately, we had a scheduling conflict that we weren't able to resolve, so that match is going to have to be postponed until next week. The silver lining is that we get to start doing something we've been talking about doing for a while, and that we think you as Smash Fiction listeners will really enjoy, particularly if you're as nerdy as we are. I'm going to let Dan Mulkerin, the games master himself, explain the details, but for now, welcome to Episode 0 of Extraordinary League.
Welcome to Smash Fiction, the podcast where normally we pit two or more nerd icons against each other in a battle of strength or wits and see who would win. This week, though, we're doing something a little different. I'm Dan Mulkerin, and with me are Kit Mulkerin.
Go Godzilla!
Just can't let it go.
No, it's Babu.
Colin Mulkerin.
Sorry.
Colin, we might need a little bit more of a voice match for you there.
Oh, okay. You got what that was, though, right?
That's what Colin's
Yes.
dice sound like.
Can you tell what kind of die it was from the sound?
I'm gonna guess.
I'm gonna guess a D20.
I'm gonna say
I'm
D12.
gonna do 8.
Miles
D6.
got it. D12.
Ah, D12.
Boom.
Oh.
Good to hear, Miles.
Thank you.
Miles Schneiderman
Hey, what's up, guys?
and Liz Logan.
Space.
Okay, good. Apropos of nothing. As regular listeners of the show may have been able to put together by now, we're kind of a bunch of nerds, and like any self-respecting nerds, we are really into tabletop role-playing games. For anyone that may not be as familiar with RPGs, they're basically collaborative storytelling games, or playing pretend with rules if you want to be a bit more direct about it. In most typical RPGs, each player takes on the role of a character, sort of the way you might take control of a character in a video game. Each player will have an idea of their character's backstory and personality, as well as a list of that character's traits, attributes, skills, and abilities, which will mechanically determine what the character is capable of. One player, though, takes the role of the game master, who runs every other character that the players run into, as well as the world at large and certain aspects of the story and plot. There's no real winning and losing in an RPG, the goal is just to have fun and tell cool and interesting stories. I've been gaming for more than half my life, and I've had the pleasure of gaming with all four of my co-hosts at some time or another. The game we're going to be playing is one of my own invention called Extraordinary League, with apologies to Alan Moore. In most RPGs, the players create their own character. In Extraordinary League, they choose a pre-existing character from virtually anything: movies, TV, video games, literature, comic books, basically the sorts of sources that give us Smash Fiction characters. Then we take this usually weird hodgepodge group and we throw them into a similarly weird hodgepodge world, and we see what story comes out of it. We'll be using the 80s era Marvel superheroes role-playing game as the system for this game, but I'm going to say right now
Because Dan is an old man.
because I am
That's awesome.
because all of these things are true, but I'm going to say straight up that this is a system with some very liberal house ruling. So anyone wanting to learn how the pure, unadulterated system works won't find this podcast particularly helpful. That being said, the system is great for handling big explosive combat between combatants that are on very different power levels, which makes it perfect for the weird, unpredictable combination of characters that so often occurs in a League campaign. So I've asked each of the players to come up with a list of 3 different character possibilities that they would like to play in Extraordinary League. So, Kit, why don't we start with you? What 3 characters are you looking into playing?
I was interested in Sir Didymus from Labyrinth, Robin Hood from the Disney movie, and Stitch from the Disney
Fox
movie.
Robin Hood?
The Fox Robin Hood, yes.
Yes, the best one.
So talk about like what each of those characters can do and what appeals to you about each of them.
Okay, well, Sir Didymus, he's super feisty, and he's not going to be super awesome at combat, but I think we were discussing this before. We came up with a way that he could be quite the hindrance to enemies, but probably with using agility checks.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's almost like he has this weird like luck ability where he doesn't ever really get seriously hurt by anything.
Yeah, he actually fights some like rather nasty looking monsters in Labyrinth and just sort of like jumps around them flailing and speaking like an extra from Camelot and somehow ends up coming out successful from it. So
Ambrosius!
Yes, and he also has a dog mount, which is great.
Which also never gets hurt ever.
Okay, what about Robin Hood?
Oh, he's a fox, first of all.
Yep.
Obviously
Apparently.
An amazing shot. A really comedic character. I believe he's a master of disguise, or he can put on any outfit and fool the shit out of anyone.
I have to confess, I have a little bit of a soft spot for the character trope of they're considered to be a master of disguise, but looking at them, it seems like they would be terrible at it, but like everyone still managed to fool everyone. I have a big soft spot for that.
Yeah,
so.
Those movies have some great stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's Stitch, which is very much my typical type of RPG character.
Yes.
Which is small and feisty, super strong, and kind of out of control a lot of the time.
He's pretty much invulnerable, too. Like, in the movie, I remember he gets run over by a semi and does more damage to the semi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's good stuff.
Yeah.
Falls off of like a spaceship in like low orbit basically and just like kind of crashes on the pavement and he's fine.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Okay, so those are Kit's 3 potential characters.
Mm-hmm.
Colin, do you have your 3 potential characters?
I do. So number 1 is an oldie but a goodie, Rorschach, who...
Oh, yeah.
He's a really great character for RPGs just because he can do the monologuing, he's very determined, he's very hard-headed, doesn't like to be bossed around, has a very strong moral sense that will lead him into good conflict with other characters, I think, and that kind of thing. So I think he's just a really fun RPG character. My second one is Morden from Mass Effect, who
awesome.
is a similar sort of thing. He has a sort of strong moral stances. He's really intelligent, but is also kind of ruthless sometimes and willing to do what needs to be done and doesn't have a whole lot of compassion. He also talks really quickly. And
I was just going to say that if you didn't.
And has really fun speech patterns in the same way that Rorschach does. He has a lot of fun characterization, so I think he'd be good.
On a skill level, also, I think it might be useful for you guys to have someone who was technologically savy, able to do some science stuff.
Yeah.
Stitch doesn't mind like a computer.
No.
I mean, he usually smashes the computers, but he thinks very quickly.
My third choice, just as like a weird wild card pick, is Meat Boy from Super Meat Boy. If anyone has played this game, he's basically a tiny boy who does not have any skin and is very, very, very fast and agile and able to just like leap incredible heights, but is incredibly vulnerable to harm. Basically, if anything touches him, he dies, but he has the ability to just instantly respawn and kind of reconstitute himself a few seconds after he dies and just explodes. And this is actually a part of the fiction of the story. It's not just in the video game, because he eventually goes to hell in one of them and sees all of the former like incarnations of himself strewn throughout hell, like all of the bodies and stuff that he's like left behind. So anyway, he's just a really weird character. There's not a whole lot given about his personality in the fiction, but I just picture him as being sort of similar, very determined, driven to succeed. He's trying to rescue his girlfriend throughout the course of it. And also, since he's a little kid, I picture him just being very sort of kind of hard-headed in that childish way, but also really innocent and that kind of thing, and really probably easily amused and kind of mischievous, kind of like a Bart Simpson or a Calvin type. So,
do you see him as being able to talk?
Yeah, I think so. But
how would he sound like, Colin? Or have to work on that a bit.
I don't know. Yeah, probably you saying no and why a lot. In the way that kids do. So,
okay, good choices there. Miles, how about you? What's your list of characters?
All right, so this was hard for me. I took a lot of my list from comics because that's kind of my primary medium of fiction right now. Really got back into comics in a big way recently. But my first choice will be, and has been for some time, to play in Extraordinary League, the Reverend Jesse Custer.
Right.
From the Preacher series, the Vertigo Preacher comic from, I believe, the mid-90s.
It seems like a mid-90s title for sure.
Mid to late 90s, yeah. And so Jesse Custer is a beaten down drunk preacher, and he through a bizarre circumstance he gets possessed, so to speak, by a spiritual entity called Genesis, which is the offspring of an angel and a demon, and as a result of that has the power of the Word of God, which is essentially, if he tells you to do something, you have to do it. And he's also a, kind of southern redneck, like pure Americana guy who's really smart, doesn't take any shit, and fights really well. He's a great character. I love Jesse Custer.
Cool.
Another character that I thought might be a little bit fun. This one, whether or not this would work really depends on whether or not the other people involved here would be cool with me being a complete asshole to them in every game. And that character is Sterling Archer.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
I just think that would be super fun because, anyone who watches Archer knows why Archer is a great character. And the reason he's a great character is he's a fucking dick. And the fact that he's good at literally everything he tries to do is the most infuriating thing in the world.
If you could pull off his like constant zingers, then yeah, I'm totally cool with it.
That would be the challenge. The reason that I didn't put him at the top is just because I'm not sure I could do the character justice in game.
Yeah.
So
he's interesting because I feel like he draws from a very specific pool of pop culture references. So you'd really have to like bone up on your what's the actor he really loves?
Burt Reynolds.
Burt Reynolds.
Yeah,
I just saw a mustache in my head and I couldn't think of his
Burt Reynolds, and we'd
Turd
have
Ferguson.
to play Danger Zone like every time.
Yes, absolutely.
Godzilla.
Yeah, get just immerse yourself in like Kenny Loggins and Burt Reynolds movies.
That's right.
His only weakness is what, like fucking fear of alligators.
Yeah, he's terrified.
It's alligators, crocodiles, and brain aneurysms are his three.
Yeah,
and then my third character is also originated in comic books, and that character is Chase Stein of the Runaways.
Nice.
Chase is basically a dumb jock whose parents were super smart, super villains. Through the course of his adventures with the Runaways, he ends up with, among other things, the Leapfrog, which is a vehicular mode of transportation that also has lasers, which is a great scene when he finally discovers that, as well as X-ray goggles and the Fistigons, which are basically a set of gauntlets that let him do cool things with fire. So Chase is awesome. Again, opportunity. Jesse Custer would be a great opportunity to do the Southern accent, and Chase would be a great opportunity to do the sort of Southern California accent.
Mm-hmm.
Chase isn't so much zingers as he is just complete disrespect and irreverence for everything he encounters. So
he also has a tendency to acquire really powerful things,
Yeah.
which you see in when he's in Avengers Arena. I'm not sure how much I should spoil for this now canceled title, but it's for anyone out there who hasn't read Avengers Arena, it's tremendously good. And
I'd like you to say he briefly becomes Dark.
Yeah, there you go. He briefly becomes Dark.
Which is I'm sure why Dan loves him more than any other of the non-Darkhawk characters in Avengers Arena.
No, I'm a big fan of Nico, actually.
Yeah,
also from
actually,
Runaways.
I also,
but I have a soft spot for spellcasters. That's just my deal, and I think she's a fantastic character.
I do love Nico.
Oh.
She's fantastic.
Old Lace is the best
then,
Runaways character.
Well, Old Lace unfortunately isn't in Avengers Arena, but Old Lace is pretty fantastic.
Discrimination.
I just wanted to say I have an honorable mention as well, just in case our group starts to come down on the non-combat side of things and we need more of that element. I'd be perfectly happy to play the heavy weapons guy from Team Fortress 2.
Yes. Excellent choices all around.
And we've also noticed, by the way, Kit's preference for non-human characters there with her.
Oh,
We're not
yeah.
towards
Or
Old Lace.
non-human and often small and, as she put it, feisty characters. And Miles's predilection for assholes. So Liz, let's hear.
I find them really easy to play
Yeah.
for some reason.
It just comes naturally. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
I also have obviously the side character of Godzilla, but Dan, instant veto.
I would be willing to discuss it, but like that's gonna tremendously limit what we can do with this game if your character is like 100 stories tall.
So no stealth missions?
Not effectively. All right, Liz, let's hear what you're thinking.
Probably my most favorite pick would be Dante from Devil May Cry 3. He's a demon hunter. If anyone's played that game, it's really, really hard, and he's a really skilled dude, and he likes to party! And I'm just imagining Dante and Archer, like, verbally sparring and driving each other nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And eating out a lot, because they like their food. And
I was not thinking of that eating out.
All right, let's
oh, God! Double entendre! Oh, no!
Yes.
I just realized that if Archer made the cut and I was ever having trouble with the zinger, I can always just say, oh, I had something for this.
Yeah.
I take it you would be leaning more towards Dante's earlier sort of like punk bad boy persona and less so his more recent emo persona.
Oh my gosh. I mean,
Please say yes.
The new game, while fun, you got rid of his white hair. I mean,
yeah, that made me
defined the character. But he'd be really cool and with mechanics in the Marvel system and stuff. His Devil Trigger, I don't know if you guys have played the games a whole lot, but the Devil Trigger would fit perfectly as his superpower.
He has a lot of things going for him. He's really good with a sword and guns. He can, over the course of the game, acquire a bunch of like magic and demonic powers and weird artifacts and stuff. So yeah, he's an excellent character for League.
And another choice I have would be Naked Snake, aka Big Boss, but he's not Big Boss yet because he is in the Metal Gear Solid 3 era. So he's some somewhat goody two-shoes soldier trying to stop his rogue mentor and stop a very early version of a Metal Gear, the Shagahad. Oh god, all my characters are cranky old men.
Yeah.
Ish. He'd be really good for stealth, interrogation, picking very good camouflage for certain situations, face painting. I don't know. He'd be really good though. But then I'd have to talk like this constantly. And that could get annoying.
You seem comfortable with that.
And then last choice would be Wolverine. And if we want to be specific about that too, I'd want to do the run in 2005 he had with his solo series right before Enemy of the State. But that's getting really specific. Obviously, he's good at a lot of stuff. He'd be a great brawler. Healing factor, claws, senses, gruff attitude. Excellent.
Yes, indeed.
I don't really feel like I need to explain Wolverine.
No, I think we got him.
We're
I
good.
can understand why someone would want to play him.
Oh shit! I just thought of another one.
Okay.
Oh.
The Stalk from Saga would be amazing.
Oh man.
Yeah, dude.
That would be a
Is this
great one.
spoilers? Because I should not listen to that.
No, the stock is a bounty hunter.
Yeah, she's basically like this gigantic fucking spider
Yes.
lady.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I've already seen her in it. That's
I was going to point out the fact that among the 4 players coming up with 3 characters apiece, 2 of the players being female, we had no female characters thus far. So that was.
I mean, the other pick besides Wolverine I was thinking about was Witchblade. But then I'm like, oh my god, everyone would just be distracted by her, like running around.
No,
And
Seriously,
I'd have to
I really
kill
want
my own teammates, and it would be bad.
Witchblade and Archer in a team together would be interesting.
Oh,
Oh man.
I mean,
Archer would just
Witchblade would
be
obviously
disabled
smack
constantly.
the shit out of him, but
Yep.
Rorschach would be like calling her a whore under his breath all the
boy.
time.
oh my! And you know what? She can do what she wants with her body.
Yeah.
Lay off, guys.
Tells her that she's what's wrong with America nowadays.
Neither Rorschach nor Archer would be in any position to tell her what to
Exactly.
do.
basically.
Yes.
Exactly. Damn.
Maybe the least
great.
powerful characters that we've come up with so far on this list. Aside from maybe Sir Didymus.
He's powerful in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. He's the heart of the team. One thing that I've done with Extraordinary League in the past when I run it is allow players to have multiple characters, but only one at a time. You know, at the start of each adventure, you would choose which character you want to play as. So if it comes down to it and you really can't decide between a couple, we can talk and maybe have you be able to switch between characters from time to time. So keep that in mind. But right now we'll be deciding on who your first character is. My reactions to the characters that you guys have proposed. Kit, I think I like Stitch the most. He's very recognizable and he has some interesting personality traits that I think will both help and hurt you in interesting ways. His ability set is simple, but I think useful in a lot of ways because of how strong and how tough he is. Having roleplayed with you a lot, I know that you have a certain talent for communicating a character's personality even if they don't talk. And
That's a lead a bit, but yeah.
And I think that that's probably a good choice for you. Although honestly, I think that any of the 3 that you chose are fine choices.
I'm going to at least start with Stitch.
Yeah.
So,
Colin, I think I really like both Rorschach and Morden for you. I think Meat Boy is a very good choice because it's a very unique choice. It's a character who always dies and always comes back, and is otherwise like not directly useful in the same way that all the other characters would be directly useful.
Well, he's very agile and he can jump absurdly high.
Yeah,
It's like
for sure.
really.
I feel like all of Kit's choices were, as she puts it, feisty smalls, and I feel like he kind of falls into that category. So I feel like having Meat Boy and any one of Kit's characters in the same party would be a little samey.
For the health of the party, I'm probably leaning more towards Morden, but I'd probably slightly prefer playing Rorschach, but I'm amenable to either. So
I think Morden is maybe the best choice from a game balance perspective, because a lot of Rorschach's skills and abilities overlap with many of Miles's character choices. And even with some of Liz's character choices, particularly Snake and Wolverine. Yeah, I feel like if we're looking at balance and sort of versatility, Morden is probably the better choice, but I would not be averse to you choosing Rorschach.
It seems to me that Rorschach's primary role would be like kind of investigation.
Yeah. And if we're his other thing is being generally gruff and tough, and I think that all three of Liz's characters have that covered. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Rorschach is the scariest person in his world, and that serves him well from like an interrogation perspective. But I think that, you know, when compared to, say, like Wolverine or Dante or even Stitch to a large extent, he's just not as intimidating. And I feel like he might not get to show off as much of what makes him a fun character in Watchmen when compared to those other guys. But I don't know.
Well, the thing I like about him is that he's not particularly strong and that he's just really determined. He might die, you know, in the session that we're playing, but he's going to go down his way. And I think that would be cool. Like, that's what I like about him, not because he's particularly strong. You know, I think he's an interesting character dramatically.
I'm very curious to see Morden interact with Stitch, though.
Well, that too, yes. I'm sure he's going to want to run all sorts of tests on him.
Yes.
I'm okay with any of those three choices, Colin. Miles, my usual sort of rubric for League is I like to limit your guys' character choices as little as possible, but one of the bars that I set is they can't be stronger than Superman. And any sort of unopposed and unconditional mind control, I think, might fall into that category a bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
So
I can see that.
Stitch doesn't believe in your god. He's from space. And
Doesn't have to believe in it. The whole point of Preacher is it doesn't matter whether or not you believe in God. God is real.
Yeah.
That is setting some very interesting things up about the universe, every universe he is in.
Well, I mean, I think that's the point about that comic is it's like, it sort of takes the premise of like, so let's explore what a universe would look like if all of the inherent assumptions about Christianity were true.
Mm-hmm.
I should clarify. The point of Preacher is that no matter what you believe, God is real, and he's a dick and needs to be taken down.
Yeah, it's very His Dark Materials-esque in terms of its theme.
What about playing the armored bear from His Dark Materials?
Are there any limits on the power or anything like that? Or is there is it a double-edged sword in any way, or does it do anything? Like, can he not use it all the time, or does it just do it? Does it not work on anyone in any circumstances? Is there any rules about it?
When he has personal issues with someone, like he has a hard time using it against his family at first because he's like terrified of them. So that's just like more of a mental block from his childhood. But other than that, it's really just a matter of like whether or not you can, because you can like cover your ears.
Yeah.
It also doesn't work on people who don't speak English. And then, of course, his eyes go red whenever he does it, which people have used to their advantage before. Like, you know, the second I see those eyes go red, motherfucker, you know what I mean? But other than that, it's pretty hardcore shit. And I would totally understand if you opted not to go quite that route with the game.
I mean, the other possible issue that I have with it is just that it would tend to make a lot of fights very samey. It would just be you forcing the enemies to surrender or shoot themselves in the head. Or just like, you know, jump off a bridge.
Although he does have a very strong sense of the responsibility that comes with the power. But yes, I understand what you mean.
I would probably lean away from him just because I think it's a less interesting choice. Ironically, because I think that the whole concept behind Preacher is really interesting. Archer and Chase, I'm totally down with. I really like both of them for very different reasons. I think Chase is, man, I don't know. I was going to say he's a more effective character, but like, that's not necessarily true.
Archer's a super spy. You think he's a dork, but like he's a really good spy and he has cool technology. And stuff
as Miles pointed out, like he's good at pretty much anything he tries to do. His abilities are a little less flashy than Chase's because Chase has really obvious super science.
He's high tech, yeah.
But I can think of many places where Archer would be more competent than Chase.
Depends on what one-liner Archer uses.
Yeah, that is true. We should try to incorporate a mechanic where you get a bonus to your roll based on how good your one-liner was right before.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, I'm good with either of those characters.
Okay. Would you be good with the Stalk if that was also in play?
So the Stalk is basically a bounty hunter. She has the sort of high-tech weaponry of that universe. If I'm not mistaken, she just has like a bunch of laser guns that she uses with her legs.
In that one shot, that great shot from early in Saga when she like rears up and you see all her weapons, there's like guns, there's an axe.
Yeah.
There's like that weird like lance that pops out of the handle.
The kitchen sink, yes.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just feeling like if the ladies aren't going to step up here and give us some female characters, man, then we got to have some gender balance going on. You know what I mean?
I hate that I didn't pick any females.
But yeah, I think the Stalk would be an interesting choice. I really like her character a lot. I think that would have some interesting mechanical sort of opportunities for you to mess around with. Yeah, she's also a pretty good pilot, if I'm not mistaken. Or at least that's my assumption.
I don't think we're ever actually told, but she definitely is one. Like, she has that badass fucking ship.
Yeah, so that might be useful, too. I would say that she's a good choice as well. So, Liz, honestly, I think any of your choices are good. I know that you are mostly... I know that you're most leaning toward Dante. I think that he's probably the best choice out of all of them. Although Wolverine, I think, is also a very good choice as well.
Yet another team that Wolverine would be a part of.
Yeah, I know, right?
True.
Oh, gosh. I'm not as familiar with the Metal Gear Solid series as I am with a lot of these other settings. But from what I know of Naked Snake's skill set, I think that he would be a fine choice as well. So, Kit, who's your final choice for your character then?
Probably Stitch.
Okay, Stitch.
At least to start.
Colin, your final choice?
I'll probably go Morden if Liz is going with a gruff fellow. I'll see what Miles picks though. What are you thinking, Miles? Do you want to?
Well, I was gonna ask. Like, this is us playing a role playing game, but this is also the Smash Fiction podcast.
Yes.
And I think that it might be fun to, if we can, to make sure that we're all coming from different forms of media.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that'd be cool. So, like, what? Stitch is an animated film character, right? And where is Morden from again?
Mass Effect video game. So yeah.
Okay, video game. Yeah. And then Liz has Wolverine.
She's thinking Dante, which is also a video game character.
We already know she's thinking Dante.
Yeah. I think it's also just, I think it's probably important to have interesting personalities though, more so. Which one are you leaning towards more?
I don't know. I was going to do the same thing to you.
I like Morden and Archer together.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about what everyone's kind of like skill sets are that they're bringing to the table. I would say Stitch is like a tank. You know, he's really strong and really tough, and probably very good in melee. He does carry
very
around
agile.
a gun.
He can use guns as well. And
stuff. He does carry around a gun, and he's pretty fast. But I think that
he's a very good physical character. I'll just say that.
He's not going to be good in social situations.
I think he's going to be the best in social situations, not the way you want him to be, but the best.
He's reasonably sneaky, and he's very fast.
I'll tell you what, though, he is emotionally fragile. He's very childlike.
Yeah, he's very childlike.
So that's going to be
easily distracted.
A good downside. Yes. Oh, yes.
Dante is, to use D&D 4th edition terms, I would consider him to be like a striker. He deals a ton of damage in those games. I remember just being staggered by how strong he is. You know, he's got big old swords, so he's great in melee combat. He has a couple of guns, so he's great in ranged combat. He's reasonably competent with magic and with artifacts, so he's good for solving those types of problems and taking on those types of enemies. He's also a very good driver, particularly with like motorcycles and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
He's got your badass covered, that's for sure.
Yeah. He's also reasonably good in social situations, if only because he's sort of naturally like rakish and charming. Although I think his hot-headedness and his occasional obnoxiousness makes him not an amazing social character.
No, he's very foul-mouthed too.
Yeah. So we have a couple of really strong combat characters for different reasons.
Sure.
So with that in mind.
So you were talking about Morden.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what game is he from again?
Mass Effect.
He's an alien.
Mass Effect.
He's an alien.
Yeah, I've never
Solarian.
played it. So.
He kind of looks like one of the big head aliens, you know, like the kind of tall, thin ones with big eyes. He has little horns, though. One of them has actually been blown off. He's just super logical. In the game terms, he's a tech expert engineer. He carries a little gun that shoots like charged particles, and he can hack into stuff. He has little like devices and stuff. He has one that can like incinerate things, like light stuff on fire fire. He just has all sorts of little cool tech devices and stuff.
Yeah,
and he's just super smart. And he's a doctor, so he knows medicine and stuff like that.
Sweet healer.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Healer. He also
we have a cleric, ladies and gentlemen. We have a cleric.
He used to be in the special forces of his race, so he's
Yeah.
a really
Solarian
good
special
combatant.
tax groups. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he was
that would
actually
be
so he's
more-
actually really good with like espionage and that sort of thing as well.
Yeah.
I think that might be more useful to the party than Rorschach.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree.
You want to say to that?
So with that in mind, Miles, who are you?
Okay. So we got a couple of fighters. As much as I'd love to be the one to end the sausage fest here with this this initial party, I'm not sure the stock is covering any new bases.
Oh, she's so cool though.
She is. I mean, she's so cool. She's a bounty hunter, so she's good at tracking, right? And like that kind of shit, which might come in handy though.
What's her personality like? 'Cause I haven't read Saga yet because I'm waiting for the whole thing to come out before I invest my emotional energy into that.
She's she kind of plays a counterpoint to the Will, who's the main bounty hunter character in that series. I feel like the Will is very no nonsense, all business, at least comparatively, whereas she's a bit more like sarcastic.
Yeah, she's fun.
Yeah, she's fun. She clearly like enjoys what she does and does a lot of like joking while she does it.
Is she an antagonist in that story? Like your Boba's Fett?
Saga doesn't really have antagonists.
Yeah, they just have varying degrees of protagonists.
One of the great things about Saga is that all the characters have multiple elements to them, and they're good. They're not really good guys or bad guys. They're just fucking people.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Even if they're random ass spider aliens or like seal creatures or whatever.
Yeah, can we talk about Goose for a second? Because Goose is the most adorable thing I've ever seen in my life.
I love that. I don't think he was supposed to be like a major role in the series going on. Like I get the sense that Fiona Staples just kind of created him just for fun.
Yep. I want to see what it looks like when a seal wears overalls and galoshes.
Yeah, and BKV just loved him so much that he ended up being part of the story later on. I'm having a hard time deciding. Somebody help me.
Archer. Just the tip.
The great thing about Archer is that there are so many little things you can do in terms of game mechanics. Like Archer should totally get a bonus if he's wearing a turtleneck.
Yep.
Yes.
I mean,
Especially if it's his slightly darker black turtleneck.
Oh my god, yo guys.
Kit just found a picture of Goose.
Isn't he adorable?
I can't even.
All right, we'll give Kit a moment. Here's what I'll say. I think that
I like Chase too, though. Chase is the best.
I think Archer and Morden have a slight overlap because they're both spies. I think that Archer is probably the better spy just because he's less, to use an RPG term, multi-classed. Morden is sort of dividing.
Morden is a spy, doctor, hacker. So,
exactly. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
No one's cheating at all.
Yeah. I think that Archer's a purer spy than Morden is, and will be better at it. But I do think that their skills overlap a bit.
Chase is also a scientist, though. He has like sciencey things. So
yeah,
Chase
I guess that's
a scientist. He has sciencey things, but he's hardly a scientist.
Yeah. He's guy with advanced technology is also covered by Morden. So.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I started crying because Goose is so cute. I'm like wiping my eye. I'm sorry.
Kit's recording a separate podcast over here.
Oh god.
Which character do you think would be more fun for you to play, Archer or Chase, or the stock?
Because we got everything covered. I think we're solid.
Yeah,
I think
we're just
gonna be slightly doubled up on something, but at this point I think it's more important to just pick something that's fun for you.
Yeah, that's the most important thing about League and really I think about any RPG is just just do what is fun.
Yeah, Archer's got your funny, Stock's got your badass female.
Yeah.
Chase is badass tech.
And obnoxious little kid.
Oh, there you go, obnoxious little kid. So it's a little bit of Morden, a little bit of Stitch.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to step outside and debate this. I'll get back to you guys in about 5 minutes. Talk amongst yourselves. You know what? I want to do Archer.
You want to do Archer?
All right.
Okay.
Archer just seems more fun.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
As much as I love the stock,
Well, she can come in later too. So.
That's right.
All right. So let's make these dudes.
Okay, so we're not going to bog you down with the details of character creation, but our starting party has been determined. Stitch, Morden, Dante, and Archer. We're going to start putting these episodes out probably once a month or so check back with us on the next episode of Extraordinary League for the first adventure of these strange companions. We're very interested also to know if this is something you all want to listen to, so please hit us up on social media or via email, tell us what you think, and we will be back next week with Geralt versus Link.
Extraordinary League is produced by Miles Schneiderman, with logo design by Colin Mulkerin.
Special thanks to Kevin MacLeod for our theme song, which is called Motherload. You can find his works at www.incompetech.com.
You can follow the Smash Fiction Podcast on Twitter at SmashFicPodcast and search for us on Facebook and Tumblr.
Subscribe on iTunes, and if you leave us a good review, we shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other contributions, send them to us at smashfictionpodcast@gmail.com and help us continue the fight.
Every time you guys say naked snake, I just like do a little inside.
Great name. It's a great name.
Listen, Metal Gear
I don't
Solid.
like that combination of words.
Metal Gear
just
Solid
don't
does a lot
play
of
Metal
things
Gear
well.
Solid.
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid does a lot of things well, but naming characters is maybe not their strongest point.
What? Come on, it's hilarious.
Certainly hilarious. I don't know.
Revolver Ocelot. That's all I have to say.